Really interesting comment came in yesterday. Well, it was really bizarre. It was, if console gamers cared so much about fidelity, they wouldn't be playing on console. And it sparked a little bit of a conversation, not going to lie, online. There were some people that were responding to it in disagreement. It seemed like they might have agreed. It was a bizarre thing. Also, last cup I made with the metal filter, and no matter which way I sliced it, I could not get the metal filter to taste good. And so we're back to double paper filter, which is like even more tighter than a normal paper filter. So the double really does increase the filtration to make it taste even better and cleaner. So it was a really interesting comment. So I was like, well, let's break that down. If console gamers really cared about fidelity, they wouldn't be playing on console. And I think that that's probably one of the bigger fallacies when it comes to gaming as a whole, and potentially one of the more closed-minded aspects of the PC versus console debacle. I think that when it comes down to gaming on a platform, it comes down to experience. Genuinely, just the experience of playing the game. And for me, one of the biggest things, another thing that was mentioned was like, oh, Nintendo's in real trouble. If they won't be able to keep up this next generation, and finally gamers are really looking for fidelity. And certainly you might be assuming that, like, even myself, someone who is historically someone who's played and used gaming console as my primary way to play video games, you would think, well, see, even you are someone who's like had enough with the gaming console situation, and you're switching to PC because you want more. And you'd be only correct partially, and I'd say you'd be correct probably a quarter of it and incorrect the other 3/4. So let's chat about that. First things first, if you want to talk to me live, I stream 4 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, or around there, over on twitch.tv/jdxcoffee. Join me over there. We're hanging out, having a good time, talking about video games. Very positive place. The very comment, if console gamers really cared about fidelity, they wouldn't be playing on console, is, I would say, pretty out of touch. I, as someone who's been historically a console gamer, don't find fidelity a driving force personally, but I do upgrade my consoles because I want a better experience. The biggest difference between people who primarily use gaming consoles and primarily use non-game or a PC that I have noticed, and I am going to take dollar amounts out of this because I think that dollar amounts are really, really inaccurate when it comes to how much something is. Not just because regionally stuff costs different. Some things are like exorbitantly expensive in another country. Like, for instance, the Steam Deck is like ridiculously expensive. I think in some place like Australia. I don't remember exactly which country it was, but someone mentioned like it's crazy expensive. So they're like, it's just not worth it to me. But when it comes to the actual cost of things, a PlayStation, let's just go with the PlayStation 5 Pro, for instance. PlayStation 5 Pro being $780 if you include the disk drive, and then you pair with that a somewhat capable 120 hertz TV with HDMI 2.1 that has moderate to good technology behind it. You're going to spend at least another, I would say at least $800. So at this point, you're sitting on about $1,600 worth of equipment that is necessary to fully maximize that experience. So dollar to dollar, you're kind of in the same boat. $1,500, $1,600 to get to pay to play. Like, you're going to be around the same amount. To take advantage of it. But people who play on console, I being one of them, do care about fidelity. It's why there are people playing on PlayStation 5 Pros or getting the PlayStation 5 Pro. Oh, I'm scared. Or people that upgraded from PlayStation 4 or 4 Pro to the PlayStation 5 and look forward to using these devices because they do indeed care about performance, and Series X for that matter. But I will give it to you. People who play on console are more concerned with the experience at hand and don't look at the performance as the primary, or fidelity rather, as the primary point. And I think that there is advantages to that kind of, I guess, more limited in some ways viewpoint. And one of the advantages is you rely on the game itself to actually deliver on the promise, which is a fun experience. Yes, Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that is used in benchmarks and used to showcase the power of all of the different technologies that exist with ray tracing and fidelity. And that's all well and good, but if the game isn't a good game, then what's the point? I've joked about it before, but like, I don't need to see more beard hairs on my character. I don't need to be able to customize every single aspect of my character in order for that game to be enjoyable. I'm sitting here playing cel-shaded games and like losing my gosh darn mind because the story is good, right? And looking forward to games that utilize different elements of, you know, whatever you want to call it, cel shading, graphical, artistic direction, whatever it is, to make it actually look and feel and play and be enjoyable from an experiential standpoint. I think there's a fallacy that exists that console gamers don't care about fidelity. Console gamers, or someone who would use a console, I think a more appropriate way to go about it isn't categorizing people based on what they are, but rather what they use. Like, this is kind of silly, but people who decide to play video games through using gaming consoles, which at this point we just understand is a closed PC, I don't think they don't care about fidelity. I think that they just understand that there is a maximum cap that their device is going to grant them, and so they are more worried about other things. I know that I, for one, have never really thought so much about fidelity as much as I have thought about the game experience, which proves the point that console gamers don't care about fidelity. If they did, they would buy a PC. But here is the problem, is that the emphasis on if you care about fidelity, you wouldn't be playing on console. I don't think that that's true, because I want my games to look good. I really do. I want to enjoy them. But I also care deeply for, at one point, I cared deeply for the ease of use, and I didn't care to learn the differences in gaming styles. I wanted to just pick up and go. I'm a creature of habit. I'm just going to continue down that road. And so for me, I always wanted the best experience possible. I want the best Nintendo experience, so I went from an LCD to an OLED. I want the best Steam Deck experience, so I went from the LCD to the OLED. I want the best PlayStation 5 or PlayStation experience, so I went from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5. And if I was to stick with my gaming consoles as a primary use of my as a primary access to my games, then I would go to the PlayStation 5 Pro. I've since decided that I'm going to start to invest more time in the PC side of things, because I find that to be a better, more streamlined, did I turn this off? No, I'm good. A better, more streamlined way to manage my games. And that's truly the biggest reason why I chose to switch to PC, not because of fidelity. Because I would debunk that by saying people who are on PC care about fidelity. I don't care about fidelity. I'm not going to PC because I want to have a better performance. Is there a benefit in performance to going to something that you can customize? Sure. Absolutely. But I want to switch to something like PC because the games that I'm playing, I want to be able to play in one platform. So, for instance, I have Black Myth Wukong. I can't play Black Myth Wukong at a playable rate. I just think 60 frames per second is a bare minimum. Not going to be able to play that on my Steam Deck. It's not going to scale well to my TV. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience. And so I would be forced to purchase that game again. Well, it was a gift to me, so purchase the game for the first time on something like a PlayStation 5. Well, now I'm not buying a PC for one game, but I really like the idea of having all my games in one place. And so I think that where maybe a decade ago, we might be able to look at these platforms as these like, oh, you need to buy the platform because you care about fidelity and you care about resolution and flexibility, so you obviously are going to be a PC gamer. Oh, you want ease of use and you're a fanboy, then you're obviously going to stick to whatever console you choose. That may have been a thing a decade, maybe 2 decades ago, but I feel like now more than ever, because the lines are super blurred. PlayStation 5 Pro isn't out yet, but what it says it can do is play games well. And honestly, that's all that people who play video games want, is just to be able to play games well. I think there's a fringe audience that want to be able to play games at a Instagram post amount. And what I say by that is they want to be able to play games and show everyone else how big and how fast their rig is going. Oh, I have this in my rig. I'm playing this game at 150, or 120 at 4K native. Like, to me, I don't care native or not. It doesn't need to be real true 4K. I just want the game to run well, and I don't want it to look like I'm playing a game from 25 years ago, right? Like, that's where I'm at. If I purchase a game like, Space Marine 2, and I want it to look like I'm playing a game that was created in 2024. Like, that's where I'm at. And if it isn't going to utilize contemporary different types of engines, then, stylistic choices like Tears of the Kingdom, or, games like Eastward or Sea of Stars, like utilizing different art design to kind of blend together that performance, or, even not the best performing game on the Switch, but still it looks amazing, something like Octopath Traveler. All of these games lend themselves to really good gaming experiences because the art design does a good job at covering up what potentially could be considered performance, a lack of performance or lack of resolution. I think that this focus on platform based on performance is truly a very archaic way of going about it, personally. I, as a father, appreciate streamlining the experience, and so if I can unify all of the different aspects. I mean, here, listen to this, dude. Like, right now I have a Mac, I have a PlayStation 5, a Nintendo Switch, and a Steam Deck, all plugged into my one TV, and that is my office. I run multiple things at once. If I can just combine maybe 2 out of those, or maybe even 3 out of those into one unified experience, that for me would make my head rest easier. Have my gaming and my computing all down in one space. Before, I always valued the separation of gaming on one device and doing all of my stuff on an Apple device. Apple has priced me out. They're far too expensive now. I feel like what they're asking for their hardware is asinine, and I am almost insulted as a consumer that the level at which they want to, not level, but the price that they want to charge for their products is just so absurd. If I want to get a modern day version of the laptop I have, I'd be having to spend almost $5,000 for that machine, and all it would do is my video editing, my daily use, and that's just so unbelievably ridiculous. Wouldn't be able to game the way I want to on it. I wouldn't be able to streamline my experience and potentially save a tremendous amount of money. Also, the flexibility is starting to wear on me personally because, well, I'm not getting a PC for performance. I'm getting a PC because it seems to be a piece of hardware that allows me to do what I want to do. I want to be able to stream my games and do my live streaming things on Twitch, and I need some flexibility in plugins. Apple doesn't allow me to do that. I want my games to be in one place, whether I'm playing a game that is able to be played on a Steam Deck well, like a Final Fantasy game, or something like Sandland, or I'm playing a game that's a little bit more demanding, like Black Myth Wukong, or what was the other one? Space Marine 2. Like, these types of titles, I don't want to have to say, okay, this is going to be over on PlayStation, this is going to be over on Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo pretty much used to be an indie and Nintendo device, but now I can very happily be like, no, if it's just going to be a Nintendo publisher device, like, that is the way it's going to be. And that means that that device actually holds even more value, because the value of that machine is that it grants me access to one singular type of game, and that is so valuable to me. It allows my mental clarity to kick into overdrive. I can be like, oh, this any game? Yeah, sure. It's just going to be purchased on Steam, or other services there. I can play games that I really miss playing. I miss playing my RTSs. I loved StarCraft 2 back in the day. I really was a huge fan of Age of Empires. Like, I miss these games, and they're not games that run very well on the Mac. And so to be able to go back to this and have some of that, that flexibility is really nice. But the comment that I read was just one that I really thought was interesting, because that viewpoint of console gamers not caring about fidelity, they just want whatever, is understandably, it's an understandable accusation, but it's just not correct. I remember greatly wanting more performance out of my machines. And so what did I do? I either chose performance modes or I upgraded the device itself. And again, I stated it. If I was to stay in the console only space and not invest more money in the PC realm, I would get a PlayStation 5 Pro and get exactly that. Better performance, better fidelity out of the games that I love to play. And for me, like, it's definitely there. The biggest focus I'm seeing, the change between people who decide to game in a portable fashion, right, whether it's on Steam Deck or some sort of Ally X or something. And that was another question. It's like, oh, you're going to regret it. I'm selling everything and just getting an Ally X. I don't know if I'll regret it, because access to the games I want to play, I want to play them and I want them to look all right, right? The handheld form factor is great, but there are games that I play specifically handheld, right? There are games I play sitting at my desk. If I'm going to sit down at my desk, I'm going to play some of those bigger titles. I don't foresee myself wanting to sit down on my couch for 15 minutes while my kid is doing something and I have a moment or two and play 15 minutes of something like Final Fantasy 16. Like, that's not, I want to sit down for an hour or two and genuinely enjoy that experience. And so for me, my gaming is compartmentalized. There's gaming that I do on the go and there's gaming I do in person. And I think that's more just lifestyle wise, but I have a very, very diverse collection of games. I don't just play one specific genre. I enjoy many different genres. There are specific genres I stay away from. I'm not a huge shooters fan. But that being said, I saw that and I thought to myself, this would be an interesting topic. I'm curious what you think. A little bit shorter cup today because I'm recording 2 in a day to get caught up. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little distracted because of the way that I see people treating each other in lieu of what's going on in the United States with the election. And so I'm having a hard time collecting my thoughts. My heart is broken because I see the way that people disagree, and people just don't disagree. They decide that a disagreement is a war statement, and that person becomes an enemy, and it's tough. It's tough to see. I am an empath, so I feel the feelings of other people, whether they are casting it on me or not, and so I find myself really weighed down heavily by these types of conversations and these types of actions, and I plan to spend time decompressing from it, not because I care deeply. Well, let me rephrase that. Not because of a win or a loss on the specific candidate that I chose, but rather of what it turns people into. And that for me has always been the hardest part. I'm hoping that you understand that this is a people thing. This is not a political party thing, because I think regardless of the party, the actions are just tough to see across the board. And this is happening everywhere. And so that kind of thing has been happening forever. This isn't new, but these moments amplify and kind of really pull back the curtain on how people treat each other. And it's tough. It's why I am trying to create a space where there's acceptance in any way that is appropriate. Not enabling, but just acceptance. Like, if you're someone who enjoys a certain thing, whether it's a certain game that may be criticized or what else, dude, it's all good, baby. Like, go for it. This is something that we're supposed to be able to enjoy as a hobby. Gaming is a hobby. I don't want to soapbox this, but gaming is a hobby. Gaming is a hobby. Gaming is a hobby. And I say it that way because PC, console, that's not, like, it doesn't matter. It's gaming. What games are you playing? What are you excited about? How are you having fun? This is huge. And it's just something that's been really heavy and weighing heavy on my heart. And so, yeah. I hope that means something to you. That could be its own cup. Maybe that'll be a cup tomorrow, but gaming is a hobby. Tomorrow's cup. We'll chat about it. Okay. I'll see you on stream, 6:30 p.m. Be there. See ya.